Hello, everybody. We are live for another AEW Dynamite review. We are still at Daly's place for our headlining main event that's going to be nearly an hour long. And it is Blood and Guts, where everything is amazing and I don't really care. So, we had a handful of matches to overly build to the Blood and Guts match. Many people say it would be alright except the goddamn finish. I'm gonna go over this more in detail, so I'm gonna save up most of my disdain and some of my positives for the Blood and Guts match. Not War Games, obviously not, in just a couple minutes. So, we open with the World Champion. First problem, you open with the World Champion. That's already deviating him to already be a minor curtain jerker is still the World Champion. Because the Tag Team Champions and the World Champion should be the last people to open the show. They should not be curtain jerkers. Kenny Omega is getting more headline over being the Impact Wrestling World Champion, but still not being a monotil draw that even former TNA World Heavyweight, two-time TNA World Heavyweight Champion, Bully Ray, former 20-time World Tag Team Champion, even comes around to burying Kenny Omega over his disdain, over his title reign, and how he even disrespects the titles, trying to make him the belt-carrying indie jobber with no semblance of a main event look. And the match was pretty lackluster, to be honest. Michael Nakazawa was not wearing any gear, even though we know he's a wrestler. Even though I know he puts oil up his crotch, like Joey. No, I'm not going to go to that. Drop kick, there was a low blow spot. A pile driver off Eddie Kingston. Then there was a rear naked choke over from Nakazawa. Moxley and Kingston came up until the Good Brothers attacked them. Kenny didn't come back. We had the Young Bucks coming around jumping them. He's still doing the super kick and slapping his thigh while he's literally wearing no shoes. These metrosexual jobbers coming around jumping the guy. And they've been feuding for a majority of already most of the calendar year. And technically, this was such a curtain jerk, even though these guys literally been feuding for literally on pay-per-view before. And seeing how you guys are not doing monthly pay-per-views, a tag match involving the rival and the world champion supposedly is supposed to be a big deal. You don't put that the curtain jerker as the match opener. Mediocre match. Half-assed finish that didn't even have the world champion doing as much to even put damage to his supposed rival with a crappy one-winged angel and double super kick that looks so crap. I just want this feud to at least end with one more title match and Kenny looks strong for once. Next we had QT Marshall against Cody Rhodes. Yeah, that was pretty much it. There was a part of the match where QT Marshall came out of nowhere with a freaking belt and started assaulting Cody with it. The ref literally eyes watched. Like, nothing was disturbing him. Nothing was distracting him. And yet, he comes around he's hitting him with belt. There was a reference to the Diamond Cutter for some apparent reason that got reversed. QT Marshall's like nobody to get behind. There's already my confusion is how do you get young guys over appointing them over a heel faction with very little build. I can understand if they were day oneers while the established guys come up like TNA, a decent time over with heat, but at least the day one guys back in TNA are still relatively younger wrestlers. Before they reach their prime. Except probably Daniel, Samoa Joe, and Styles. But beyond that point, it comes over a DQ finish I think Cody comes around getting assaulted by the guy like Anthony Ogo, that just looks like a British look. Anthony Bowens, no semblance of a presence. Like I don't even know half of the guys on the factory. Why reference something out of something that you hate? I don't get that. That's not even a quarter of symbolism. That's just like an up and coming faction. That's a jobber faction. What the hell is the factory? So I can't get behind Cody. I can't get behind QT or the young guys that are supposedly turning heel on the established veterans that they keep not winning clean over. And QT Marshall, the most like no-name guy to even be the leader over a heel faction. Like if this was somebody like Brandy or Dustin that's over the shadow of Cody on being like the head guy while being an executive in AEW would be making a lot more sense and be headlining Dynamite more. Like, are you really gonna give a shit about this thing a couple of months in the line? You know how bad Cody Rhodes is at even getting his business over. If even his own stan fans are being like, okay, Cody Rhodes is full of shit. Like, come on. So after Alex Marvez literally up atop Daly's place was having an interview with Darby Allin, Scorpio Sky and Ethan Page came out of nowhere, literally just tossing him. Darby would fight back with a couple hits and hit a coffin drop on top of some ladder, but too much. But Scorpio and Ethan Page are beating him up, and they've been doing very little to build other than jumping him with no interviews coinciding this, even though there's been stuff with Lance Archer, stuff with Sting, or just a random title defenses, all because it's the babyface. Darby Allin should not be TNT champion for this long. I disagree with this sentiment entirely. Just give Miro the title to turn him into a major heel. That better happen next week. And just tossing him over the steps after literally the stupidest spot, using your spiky shoes and pressing his face into them. I thought that was a bit corny. That was practically it. That was the whole segment. They went picture in picture awkwardly while he was still recovering. I really hate the factory. Like, how do you get young guys, supposedly their look over to the company? It's like the natural born fillers, where you have guys that have the look, have the potential, and instead of essentially turning some of them that look face to be face, so they can get their personality over, while the established guys over in the heels, like y'all, if y'all remember, most people talking about the 2000s era of WCW, like people complained immediately because you don't get the young guys heel to get them over because it barely works. Like, and over QT Marshall, like, if Arn Anderson suffered hemorrhoids, that's literally it, with no semblance of legitimacy. That's literally QT Marshall if he looks like he's getting dressed up for a cat funeral. I hate QT Marshall, and he sucks in the ring too. Britt Baker DMD versus Julia Hart. This was a squash match after she was issued a title match come Double or Nothing against Hikaru Shida, and I hope she drops the belt. Hikaru Shida has been the second worst champion on AEW. At least Darby Allin is on consistent TV times, having coherent storylines involving Ethan Page and Scorpio Sky, the stuff involving Sting and the Dark Order. At least we know at least a bit about Darby Allin. There's barely any subjugation of personality with Hikaru Shida. People want to bring this thing like, oh, Hikaru is hot. Shut up. I don't know if you guys know the perception of what the hell hot means. Well, Britt won with the lockjaw after just squashing out her opponent. That's technically it. Well, congrats at least for Britt Baker finally doing that, but they should have just dropped it to Ty Conti and let her be a transitional champion. He could this Joshi crap is already not doing anything to get any of these women over. Next up, we had a 4-way tag team match elimination tag team match to see who will face off against the Young Bucks come Double or Nothing for the World Tag Team Champions. Well, it's already been foreshadowed already from last week after the Young Bucks literally squashed in high quotation marks after how it was shown. Uh, the not the Hollywood Blondes. It was Mike Sydal and Matt Sydal in the match opener, and SCU came out. So if you put them over on promo trying to tear down the champions, how could I not take them as major threats for the world title? For the world tag titles. The match was alright. There was like a crap black mass of it was a heel kick coming from Luchasaurus that looked crap. Why is he doing more kicks in his arsenal when he's like 7 foot something? That makes no sense for me. It's taking the powerhouse aspect. Oh, but he's doing 450. He's Luchasaurus. Change his name, change his arsenal up, and he'll get over. I promise you that. Like, shouldn't be this hard. Like, he's a big guy. He should be doing big man moves. Sure, he can do athletic stuff to surprise the crowd, but he should not be doing that majority of the time. It takes most of the authenticity away from him. And there should be a semblance of authenticity when it comes to listening over a crowd reaction. Like, we should not be seeing guys like Miro do kip-ups every week. You leave that for a pay-per-view or a special match where he's supposed to be doing a heel or a babyface. Like, SCU was doing the more cooler moves over in the middle of the match. A cool best moonsault over with a tombstone pile driver to end the match. Great finish. The Acclaimed would have been my second choice, but I know they were doing babyface. But the Young Bucks are heels, so it was obviously going to be either Jurassic Express or SCU because they're the primordial favorites. Plus, they already cut a promo on the guys, already figuring that they would be the top contenders, and I thought they already were the top contenders. So doing this tag match was just a sake for doing a tag match, even though it looks like they were their consistent contenders. And literally, didn't they just say before, like when they were like I guess the prime contenders from before, that what the next time they lose will break up the SCU, and that hasn't even been shown over the last couple weeks. So I'm already like featuring that they're gonna do a title match and lose to the Young Bucks on pay-per-view. That's all I can say, even though I don't mind SCU, and most of what I've been hearing from even younger fans, SCU is one of the better tag teams going on AEW. But an average four-way tag title match. I mean, four-way elimination match. And then major announcements. And when they were even building up over the Blood and Guts match, they were literally just going over promos before, like they couldn't do it backstage or some crap. Just, okay, hurry up, get inside the ring. Miro, get us in the ring. And Kenny, get inside the ring. Like, you guys gotta, like, pace the show. You guys monitor and schedule this. You're not on tour. This is, like, in one setting. So they issued Miro has a device on his contract that he gets a title shot for the TNT Championship against Darby Allin next week on Dynamite to the lowest chagrin, and he matters to win in any cost. So he's probably gonna cheat. That's all I can tell from that. I like there's been very little minimal build to you jobbing out to the best friend Gaylord jobbers, and then just beating up on your heel best friend over just because you're a monster now, and they want to treat you like a monster. Listen, I like Miro. He looks like a superstar. He can talk like a superstar, and he obviously can wrestle really well. So the semblance now that they're trying to treat him as this giant Euro monster is completely like out of the blue. And it's already like taken most of the mystique that actually made Miro entertaining in some sort. But it's great now that he's getting a title shot. It just should have took a bit better. Because what I'm about to announce is also going to piss me off. They said Tony Schiavone coming over announcing with Kenny Omega came with Michael Nakazawa holding all the championships that next week the top ranked competitors Pac and Orange Cassidy will battle for the night to battle in one night. The challenge Kenny Omega are double or nothing. Why? Out of all the guys that are in the top 5 at least, how is that going to sell a pay-per-view? And like, I understand Orange Cassidy, at least he has a gimmick, at least he has a semblance to get a crowd reaction. So I can understand like it's either up or down with Orange Cassidy, but not in the semblance that you have to give him a world title shot because he's over the semblance of a small minority. Impact that at least I get because they have a semblance of a story, but we all know Orange Cassidy's gonna win. So that's already the subplot. Even though I know Pac is babyface as well now. Like, come on. Like, isn't like Hangman undefeated? Isn't Lance Archer one of your top monster heels that you guys always give vignettes to? Where it looks like freaking Jake the Snake is always drunk over moonshine? Or hell, Jericho? He could still sell matches even though he looks like a pregnant stepmother. The guy look at least is notable. Or Moxley, the guy he's been feuding with, or Brian Cage, or Hangman. At least there's a story. Why Orange Cassidy and Pac? Oh, they're the top 2 contenders. Like, why are you bringing semblance now to the top contenders? Sell over. They already wrote themselves over a corner for crap like this. And it's like, no, you can't do that. Yeah, you can't do that. Like, oh, God. And then Cassidy came, Omega disrespecting and downplaying, saying, see you in the bleachers, kid. Take your slut sunglasses away. Like, no charisma still. Even if you're disrespecting your top contenders, and still not looking like a top guy. Like, it's sad. Like, Kenny Omega is just a lost cause for me. You're either mid-card or that's it, Kenny. Like, no semblance of what looks like a top guy. Yeah, Diesel wasn't that great, but at least he looks like, oh, this is a guy that probably is difficult to beat in a fight. Kenny is just knee strikes. A small snap suplex is the only way you look good in doing moves. Because that's a semblance of telling your story. Like, I hate Kenny and I hope he drops the belt to frickin' Pac or something. At least Pac looks like he wants to beat somebody up. Next, we have our main event. And over the minimal vignette use or selling over the Blood and Guts match, they finally did it. The Blood and Guts, a year in the making after being announced for the Inner Circle and Elite story that got turned into the Stadium Stampede shitfest. I hated that match. The only thing that was fun about that was the Matt Hardy gimmick changes that happened. Anything else was just silly YouTube humor crap. With Jericho, like, Judas affecting the frickin' Jobber Jack the Jaguar mascot. That was about it. And, Jesus Christ, this nearly felt just like the Stadium Stampede, except they had less to work with. A minimal storytelling over, like, what, the last several months? Over heel turns and a faction built over, and it just felt like barely any chemistry was made, and a lackluster ending. Like, you could say, oh, this match was alright. They can never go over a key spot if they say that a match is good or bad. That's why I don't like about people that don't critique anything. They'll never extinctify the detail of what makes the match good or explain why. They just say, oh, the match is good. But whenever they feel that, it's like, I won't remember this next week. That pisses me off to the extent that when we even were opening with Sammy Guevara that said that he wouldn't care if he started as the number 1 spot, Dax Hardwood, the MJF, the guy that he was going neck and neck with, saying that he was a snake in the Inner Circle and causing him to leave the Inner Circle. Barely any animosity between much of them. Then when everybody, and then like it took just 2 men already get busted up and up. It's kind of blood and guts. Tony, you don't know how to make a match, bro. You're just a mark for any work rate CZW Ring of Honor BS with no build. I hate whenever you bust a guy's open too early in the match. Dax Harwood already bled first over just getting hit over in the cage, with a lack of even getting hit more than just a couple times. And then there was this crap spot where I knew they were going to foreshadow a Spanish fly over the top rope outside, hitting, I think, Sean Spears. And Sean Spears could barely even run over a work punch. There was a springboard. I think you're trying to go for a springboard clothesline, Sammy Guevara. And then it ends with a freaking weird ass miss where Cash Wheeler still had the bump to. Cash Wheeler coming around, still bumping over the crap work punches. Santana was looking for, I don't know why. Santana and Ortiz, I don't know what that's supposed to signify, probably in their culture. Or I don't know why they had to look like two bodega Beetlejuices in the face. I guess at least they were trying to identify. I like the whole thing signifying all their hometown prisons. That was about it. The match itself was just a borderline spot fest, train fest. Like, the whole thing, well, everybody's in the ring. It's a war. They didn't even think of infusing the ring to get rid of the two ropes, literally causing this thing to feel like an unsanctioned mess. Literally, like, the ropes were so, like, in the way, it kind of stopped the tempo of any animosity. They couldn't even make it look like a rectangular ring. It's just two rings squished together. So it already looks like just regular war games. Like Tully Blanchard coming around awkwardly holding Chris Jericho when the guy's like pushing 70. They went wrestled over the top rope. There was the salt of the earth. There was the walls of Jericho. The ring was ripped up. Everybody was already spotting out over the ring. Like, there was no ref to signify whatever was going on. I guess it was the two captains that had to lose or something. Nobody else was just doing nothing over in the ring. Hagar and Wardlow were, like, lost. And sure, they had some clothesline spots. Some big moves, especially the strong slam. I just felt like that was a lost opportunity. There was a mesh of spots that were lost in anything involving MJF and Sammy Guevara. Even though they had the most going for them, they should have the most animosity with them. Hagar and freaking Wardlow were, I think, underutilized over most of it. Santana and Ortiz had the best going for them, I guess, in certain spots where they were doing clotheslines and drop kicks. But that was most of what you could see. The only weapon that was used over most of the match was a crap little softball bat and Sean Spears' chair. That none of those headshots busted open anybody than just a simple punch to the head. Like, we even saw a pan shot outside in the camera where it showed Jericho blading. Why did so many people have to blade? I think the only people that didn't blade was Wardlow and freaking Hagar. Why that much unnecessary bleeding when there was barely any buildup? None of you guys are Ric Flair. Oh my god. At least Ric Flair, he did in the Hell in a Cell match where at least it took, 20 minutes? And that was supposed to garner over sympathy because it's literally an old man getting beaten up by a prime former world champion like Triple H. So that can make sense why I felt like, oh, dude, why is this legend getting beaten up like this? Like, it took under 10 minutes, and Cash Wheeler, Dax Harwood, Sammy Guevara got a cut above the eyes. Jericho, like, at least MJF got punctured over with a stick, and he was selling at least a bit of the blood. But I swear, many guys lost blood over the head, and they were barely selling what is a vital amount of blood loss over the head. None of them looked fatigued. Like, I swear, Sammy even got a cut, and he's still doing a Spanish fly. He's still like a top chamber spot hooked over. Like, it's just a semblance of no pacing. Barely any drama because I felt like there was no refs calling over the action. I barely even felt most of the stipulation going for me. Like, there was no drama. There was no timing. There was no nothing. It was already just a I Quit War Games match with no significant, threat over most of it other than just selling over Jericho and MJF spot that I knew they were going to do. And Jericho forfeited. So it ends with Pinnacle picking up a win like I knew that was going to happen, saying thank you and tossing him over and signifying over the thank you. Smart move to let the Pinnacle win, but just the way it was just handled. I thought the whole Blood and Guts thing was just underwhelming. And the show itself is just shit. And this is just like a minimal tag team match just for the sake of tag team match. Barely any like looking power. And that crap little sports ESPN sports science shit Taz doesn't signify the star if he's barely wrestling over on TV to begin with. Even if that's supposed to get Christian over when he only has a handful of matches on TV. Like, only, like, two. One against Kazarian, and I think another against Hobbs. Trying to sell over a match next week. Like, do we still have pay-per-view? And the headlines, literally two mid-carders feuding for the world title. While Miro is just, like, getting an automatic shot for the TNT Championship. Like, no ranking system interplay. Like, bro, this is stupid. This show was just awful to me. And the main event could have been better. That's all I'm saying. Thanks for watching the video. Hope you at least subscribe to at least grow the channel. If you have opposing opinions, and if you thought, with minimal detail, AEW was just fine, but I just didn't want to watch the rest of it, absolutely comment down in the comment section below. But that's it coming from me. Hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Oh, God.